I'm Nic Harcourt, and I'm here with Ryan and Israel from Blind Pilots. So good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I know you've been here before, but time has a way of just sort of ticking along. And we were looking when you got here to see when it was. And it was actually 2016, which is like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Been 8 years in between records, which is a long time. So first of all, tell us how you spent the downtime with the pandemic, and then how were you able to come back around to writing again and making this record? Because I believe you did not write for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I spent a lot of that time just kind of banging my head against the same wall, reading different books on creative process and going to therapy for writer's block.
Okay.
But I ended up writing a batch of songs that was going to be the Blind Pilot album, and I ended up pivoting last June and decided to write this album, In the Shadow of the Holy Mountain, in the month of July, and just give myself that challenge, like whatever came in that month, that would be the album. And it ended up being a really good thing to do because it was just more playful, it was fresh, it was, I wasn't expecting the songs to be perfect or great. It was just this time constraint challenge, and that really helped.
Why couldn't you write? You said I had to go to therapy. I mean, I don't want to get too personal into your shit, but...
I tried changing everything about my process, everything in my personal life, except for the atmosphere that I was surrounded with in music, like in Blind Pilot, like the whole ecosphere. And there were just things that we had to talk about and just get straight with and be honest, and just to see each other with that clear sight again. And when I focused on that, things really shifted. It was all of a sudden, okay, songs want to come again into this atmosphere.
So as the songwriter, you're the guy who really has to deliver the material before the band can come back together to start recording it and playing it. If I can ask you, Ryan, a little bit about the downtime for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good little bit there. And before this band started, I was mostly focusing on painting, which is what I went to school for. And so I sort of focused back on painting for a while, continued to play music, and just not in this setting. And that was, in a lot of ways, really, really great for me to revisit that thing that is deeply personal to me as well. But it certainly feels great to be playing music again.
Right. So when you sort of stop and you put a band on hold, essentially, everybody is doing their own thing, because we're all individuals with our own lives outside of whatever job we have, I hope, you know. Yeah. And once you had sort of pushed through that block and written these songs, then you have to reconvene and decide what's next, where are you going to record them? And I know that, we had this conversation before we started talking. You guys live in Oregon, right?
Most of us, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I live in Tucson, Arizona now.
Okay.
Yeah. I also did that in the time, moved
you
to
did,
the desert.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting, because we were just talking about the desert as opposed to the mountains, which is a whole other interview. But you decided to record in upstate New York.
Yeah.
In the Catskills, in a studio that I know very well called Dreamland.
That's so cool, that studio.
Oh, yeah, it's a beautiful place. It actually was very active when I first lived there 35 years ago or whatever, and then it was closed for a long time, and then I think they sort of gradually brought it back online. Why did you pick that place to record? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the producer that you decided to work with. Did he have something to do with picking the spot to record?
Yeah, we got in touch with Josh Kaufman, who produced 2 records. Well, yeah, who produced this record, and he said that his favorite place to record is Dreamland. So, And he was really cool about the initial meeting. He said, well, you never know if you are gonna vibe. Why don't you just fly out to New York and come visit me at home, and we'll play some music in my garage studio. And it was very much like his home base in upstate New York and his people.
Right.
So he just like took care of that, and he chose the studio.
There's a certain amount of trust that you have to put in somebody when you make that choice. Is that something that was easy to do? Was it really based on the vibe?
It really was. Yeah, we hit it off right away on that first visit. I love his approach. He seems to always be searching for the deeper truth of what the song wants to be. And he has this crazy knack for finding it and asking you to explore along the way to find it. And I knew that the band would like that.
Worked out so incredibly well. I mean, he was such a dream to work with, and Israel had gone out there before the whole band went out there, and he just came back. I could just see how happy he was about the experience. And so, often we would all like meet with the producer, or at least like the two of us would meet with the producer, but this was sort of seemed really clear. So I just trusted Israel's opinion on that, and it worked out.
Just a couple of his credits include the National and the War on Drugs. How significant is it to you when you decide to work with somebody who else they've worked with?
Really big. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the only way to get a sense of their creative taste and what they like, what appeals to them. Bonnie Light Horseman was I just totally fell for them, and that's his project. So that was why I asked.
So tell us about the studio. It's a converted church. I remember from my time there when I was sort of a guy with a man with a van kind of thing, and I would load people in and out of there before I got a real job on the radio. Well, if you can call it a real job. The drums. Tell us about cutting drums in that place.
I mean, such an incredible room, and on this one we really leaned into the whole band playing together, and so there was like an isolation booth for drums for some of them. Then some of them we did in the big room all together. But yeah, there's so many fun things to pick through. I mean, there's a whole other room just dedicated to percussion instruments that just you can go through.
Full of gear.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like one like leather wrapped drum that was as big as this desk. Like, not even exaggerating. It was just huge. Yeah, and so it was great. You could tell that it's just like so much music had been played there. It was not a sterile studio by any means.
Did you track most of the stuff live? It sounds like you did.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've done before?
We've done it for different sessions before, but mostly in studios we've tracked single or maybe just like a rhythm section and then added. Josh's approach was so exploratory, and so just, okay, let's hear the song how it is. Can you guys all try changing this and adding that? And so it really worked to, in that moment of exploration, we would hit upon a take, and then that would be the take. He
was also playing with us, so it wasn't like we were in the room and hearing things through the headphones of what to do. It's like that energy, there was no barrier at all, which was great.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to cut it? How long were you there?
8 days. We were there for a couple of weeks, but the recording time was 8 days.
Right, so a week of sort of setup and running through stuff, and then like a solid week of just tracking everything.
Yeah, which was really pretty fast.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. So Josh works with Dan Goodwin, who is an amazing producer and engineer. So he made it really fast. It was like he was always one step ahead. We just set up and went.
So the live thing has always been a big part of you as a band.
Yeah.
I know you love playing live, and you're just sort of about to get out there. In fact, obviously, when people see this, you'll have already played the show you're playing in Los Angeles tonight. But actually playing the music live as you were recording it and now getting ready to take it out, how does that feel?
That's sort of like, that's the real fun part, because the songs continue to evolve a little bit, like when we start getting the energy from the audience, and of course, like once they start to learn the songs. And I feel like we've been really lucky to have an audience that likes to sing along, and so I'm really excited to play these songs once people actually start to connect with them in their own time. And we rehearsed back in Oregon, and then now we're out there, and you start to hear things where like maybe it could get another little lift in the live setting. And so the songs sort of continue to just get better and better.
So how would you describe this collection of songs? We live in a time where not a lot of people make albums. I mean, they'll make a collection of songs and release them. Here's a dozen songs as an album. But it sounds like you made an album. And you had to go through some stuff to get the songs. So how would you describe this collection?
It's funny. I'm still learning from it because, like I said, it was just this output of a month of writing, and I wasn't questioning much. I was just like in acceptance mode, whatever was coming through. And it wasn't until we mastered it and I was listening back that it really emotionally hit me what the album was about. A lot of the songs that I didn't even like see it, this common thread. But there are some common threads and themes, things I was going through at the time, a lot to do with ancestral lines and the stories that we continue on. That's a thread in it. There's a thread of like trying to return to friendship, to connection. The first track on the album is kind of like a sweet thank you apology song to Ryan for waiting so long for me to write.
That's Jacaranda, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like that one. Yeah.
I like Jacarandas.
I'm glad you know what they are. I was like, I wonder how many people know what this plant is.
Beautiful tree, beautiful flower.
Yeah, well, we have them in LA.
Yeah.
And I lived in Brisbane in Australia, which every October is just purple, which is how I sort of discovered them. But anyway, that's the name of the song. But again, you're talking about a couple of the themes. Anything else?
Those are the biggest ones that hit me right now as I'm listening back. Yeah.
Well, looking forward to seeing you guys. I won't be there tonight, but I know that you're coming back through Southern California again in November. The album comes out in August, correct? And thank you so much for coming in and playing for us again. Time flies, but the music always remains. And we're so glad to have you back with a new record. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great to see you guys.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. I think we should shake hands.
Yeah.
Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Nick.
That fire's warm, but it sure burns fast. Gonna stand where I see the truth. If I can't see it yet, I'm gonna walk till I see it through. just the miles we walk, we're not just the ways we talk. We have the same fight to free. Oh, hello, I'm gonna walk with you, share every place that we know. Oh, hello, I'm gonna welcome you, yes, you're part of my home. Oh, hello, I'm gonna walk with you. Oh, hello, I'm gonna walk with you. Lines we've drawn made us sick, kept us apart, kept us locked in. What do we really think needs to be said? Some will give, some will hate. Don't wanna be one that sits and waits. I wanna be on the side that is great. Oh, hello, I'm gonna walk with you, share every place that we know. Oh, hello, I'm gonna welcome you, yes, you're part of my home. Oh, hello, I'm gonna walk with you. Oh, hello, I'm gonna walk with you, yes, you're part of my home. Told me the truth, but not only. One night to believe it, one life to get it right. And I heard it shine right through me. Sounded like a diamond waiting down in the mine. And I got the proof. Was it a dream? You were picking muscles in the shallows of the beach and holding your hand, curls in her hair. That girl knew the ending isn't just what it seems. You said, don't you know it's all holding us? You said, don't you know this could be anything you want? Darling, it was, it was, it was, it was, it was. Darling, it was, it was, it was, it was, it was. Smoke on the roof, stayed up all night, talking through the fate lines, what we won't, but we might. You whispered the truth,